The US Embassy is angry with India. The reason PM Narendra Modi's right wing Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP has for the first time directly called out the US deep state for interfering in India's politics. Modi's BJP party said the US deep state was trying to destabilize India by targeting the government of Prime Minister Modi. BJP, in its statement, took a shot at the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, or also known as OCCRP. Now, a recent investigation by a French investigative media group, Mediapart, revealed that the OCCRP is in fact funded by the US Agency for International Development, or USAID. Notably, the OCCRP is also funded by Modi hater and so called billionaire philanthropist George Soros and the Rockefeller Foundation. Now, according to BJP, this OCCRP is working hands in glove with the Indian opposition. BJP says the deep state has directed this group to provide material aimed at damaging PM Modi's and India's image to opposition parties. They say the Congress party, which is the main opposition party in India, then exploits this material to launch attacks on PM Modi, propagate false narratives, and disrupt the functioning of the parliament. BJP said the US deep state was always working behind the scenes. In response, the US Embassy in Delhi said it was disappointed with Modi. The embassy said it is disappointing that the ruling party in India would make these kinds of accusations. Well, like in many other countries, US deep state in India enjoys significant influence. It often deploys its think tanks, fake news media, international groups, and pollsters to spin theories that suit its own agenda, own interests. For example, last year, Freedom House released its Democracy Index, in which India's ranking saw massive downgrade. It was later perceived as an attempt to pressure India on trade and policy matters. But India's Modi government is no longer in mood to tolerate this shit, especially after the victory of Trump, who is also known as the butcher of the deep state. US-based groups which are backed by the deep state, such as the Ford Foundation and the Open Society Foundations, have increasingly faced scrutiny in India for allegedly advancing foreign agendas under the guise of activism. Intelligence and secret operations play a big role in influencing global events. The US deep state does exactly that to interfere in India's politics. 10 years back, documents leaked by Edward Snowden showed the US National Security Agency, or the NSA, kept India under close watch. India was one of the top 5 countries targeted by this NSA for surveillance. This NSA kept a close watch on Indian political leaders, defense systems, and economic institutions. Basically, the US was carrying out espionage operations in India until as recently as a decade ago. While there is no proof that the US directly interfered in Indian elections, it is known that American officials have often supported politicians or parties that align with the US interests. The surveillance and behind the scenes influence are part of a larger strategy to keep control over India's decision making. The US also uses cultural and educational programs to strengthen its influence. Initiatives like Fulbright scholarships and partnership with Ivy League schools shape the thinking of India's future leaders. At the same time, Hollywood movies and popular American social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook dominate cultural trends in India. These platforms play a powerful role in shaping how Indians think and feel. They often promote agendas and perspective of US-backed assets. The BJP also alleged that Indian opposition leaders like Rahul Gandhi often travel to US and UK to receive orders from the American deep state and George Soros. BJP's view on the US deep state was immediately backed by the American GOP party itself. Mark D. Ivanio, who is executive director of Republicans for National Renewal, threw his support behind the BJP's argument, saying the deep state's interference was not just limited to India. He noted that this phenomenon has been observed in countries around the world, including Hungary and El Salvador, where liberal globalist candidates are pushed into power in opposition to conservative or nationalist governments. As per Mark, the US deep state and its globalist allies continuously target nationalist governments that prioritize their country's interests over the globalist agenda. Mark spoke about the risks posed by some international NGOs, highlighting a recent incident in Romania. He pointed out that the US ambassador supported cancelling elections there, a move that would have caused outrage in countries like India or Russia. Mark warned that such interference undermines elected governments and pushes globalist ideas, often at the cost of a nation's independence. This problem is not limited to India, it is happening everywhere, Mark said during an interview. He also accused the US deep state of using these NGOs to back liberal candidates, ignoring what ordinary people want and dismissing the authority of nationalist governments. In India, concerns about external influences like the US deep state are growing. Many are looking forward to changes under the new Trump administration. Mark shared his belief that when President Trump takes office, things will shift significantly. He emphasized the importance of appointing Kash Patel as the head of the FBI, indicating this could help tackle the power of these groups. Patel has argued in favor of significantly reducing the FBI's footprint, a stark contrast to the stance of previous directors who sought expanded resources for the agency. He has even proposed shutting down the FBI's Washington headquarters and reopening it as a museum of the deep state, referring to his derogatory term for the federal bureaucracy. And though the Justice Department has already halted the practice of secretly seizing reporters' phone records during leak investigation, Patel has said he intends to aggressively hunt down government officials who leak information to reporters and media and change the law to make it easier to sue journalists. Mark believes Trump's administration will take a tougher stance against globalist agendas and hold those responsible for promoting them accountable. Reflecting on Trump's previous term, Mark said the former president had worked hard to drain the swamp. He suggested that Trump's return would bring fresh energy to this effort. Mark also spoke about Trump's strong ties with Prime Minister Modi, emphasizing their shared commitment to nationalism. He believes this partnership could lead to closer cooperation between India and the US in fighting these external influences. The US deep state hates Modi as much as Trump. By going after the deep state, India made a bold move, but it also sent out a clear message to the GOP and the incoming US administration. New Delhi is standing shoulder to shoulder with the Trump team to tackle this menace called deep state once and for all.